Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Smason, and welcome once again to NOLA Theater Talk. This is our weekly outreach on Mondays and Fridays of the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group. NOLA Theater Talk has been on, if you will, the internet since April of this past year when we got started. We're part of a group, as I mentioned, the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group. We have now over 422 members, or at least 422 members, over 420 members. And, we're hopeful that if you want to, you'll join that group as well and learn a little bit more about what's going on in the city of New Orleans as far as theater is concerned. We also broadcasted the theatercriticism.com Facebook page, not to be confused with the theatercriticism.com review site, which I also founded, but which basically does theater reviews or perhaps film reviews, but does not now or ever host any of these shows. And also, of course, you can find it, for those of you who are not Facebook people, that you can find it on the YouTube Music Lovers 169 site, which is my own channel. You just look it up under my name or that particular channel there, and you'll find it. Tonight, we are very, very blessed in a real way with a story about a play which has to do with a blessed figure. And for those of you who are from New Orleans, you'll know when I mention the name of Father Xavier Francis Seelos as to what a historic figure he was. And we're going to get a little bit more in depth about that when we invite our guest in tonight, who will basically tell us about all of that's going on with a play about Father Seelos. And again, Father Francis Xavier Seelos, the last place he stayed in life was here in New Orleans. We'll find out about a little bit of his story, where he came from. And it's not where you probably expect that he came from someplace near, to New Orleans. He actually traveled quite a distance to get to the United States, and we'll explain all about that. And also talk a little bit about a play that our guest is going to be presenting. He has presented it in the past, and will continue to present it. So without any further ado, let me bring into the room and welcome back, because he was part of our cast of many characters in the production that was directed by Natasha Raymer of Insulted Belarusia. And again, I'm going to bring in Casey Groves right now. Casey, welcome to our show. You played the bad guy in that, didn't you? You were the evil dictator of Belarus, who had essentially clamped down on his personages, his people, with an iron fist. And he was abridging their human rights, etc. So very interesting. Casey,
we're a mess over Belarus. Yeah.
You played it very well.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed your part. I thought that you did it with great authority. I don't guess you've been a despot in a previous life, huh?
Oh, yeah. I don't know about that. I don't know. No, I mean, look, I do know that I played quite a few villains type characters in the past few years. I did Claudius in a William Shakespeare production of Hamlet, like last year, and then the summer before that, and then I played Pontius Pilate in a production that also with Natasha Raymer that we performed at Dillard. And I played one of the bad guys, the main bad guy in The Tempest at Tulane Shakespeare Festival a couple years ago too. So yeah, I've been getting some nasty characters.
And for those of us who remember the Lombardi Trophy, the show Lombardi, you played Vince Lombardi.
This is right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
yeah.
You played hero as well as a villain.
That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta have both sides. It takes,
So tonight I'm having an old standby because I didn't have much time tonight. But this looks like what? What does it look like? A screwdriver, right? Looks like orange juice and maybe vodka.
Mai Tai? Is it?
No, it's actually got Galliano on top.
Okay.
So what does that make it? Do you know?
I don't know. Ask Kippy Tooker. I'm not the foodie.
you'll be embarrassed when you don't know that this is a Harvey Wallbanger.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I remember it.
Now if I were being Vince Lombardi, I'd be drinking a Manhattan because that was his drink du jour.
A very, very fascinating character, and of course, after having gone through the Saints season, his grandson, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Lombardi.
Joe Lombardi. He's back with the Saints. Am I right? When the Saints won the Super Bowl, he was the quarterback.
Quarterback coach, yeah.
Right. So he was working with Drew Brees, when they won the Super Bowl, and then he and Sean Payton were there in the audience when we performed it at Le Petit. It was really great and had some really wonderful comments for Rachel, because it was like, you got my grandmother to a T, because Rachel played, my wife Rachel played Marie Lombardi, Vince's wife, who Joe grew up with and knew, but Vince died much when he was, I think even before Joe Lombardi was born, but Marie lived many, many years after, so he got to actually know her, and thought Rachel did a great job playing that.
I may ask a question just because it occurred to me that at this year's Super Bowl, if you saw it, they had a 3D hologram, if you will, of Vince Lombardi speaking to the crowd. Did you see it at all?
Oh, I missed that part. No, I did not see. No, it was but it was an actor playing it, right? It was a recent. It was.
I believe it was an actor, but I can't tell because it looked very much like Vince Lombardi, and I don't know whether or not it was constructed out of like CGI or whatever.
No, I think I remember hearing that they had an actor doing a bit from the play, if I'm not mistaken, like a monologue from the play. Maybe I'm wrong.
And it could be, I don't know, but I just wondered whether or not that was something that sort of struck you again and made you remember it. Well, look, we're not going to talk about Vince Lombardi. We are going to talk about really another hero, and I thought before we started to talk about Father Seelos again, that we could maybe review a little bit about his life and why it is that you wanted to do a play about him. And why it is that it resonates so well so many years after his passing. And again, I guess what I'll also ask is if anybody has a question, to make sure that they put their comments on Facebook or YouTube, and we can probably see them and pose those questions to you. So the play that you're involved with is called Seelos, Doctor of Souls, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's right.
And how was that? How did that come up in terms of the title? Was that something that you thought was an appropriate title?
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it, the thing that really initially struck me about him was that he had this natural healing ability. That was the thing that really made me want to connect with his story. That was the thing that struck me the most about it. I wanted to learn more about this guy who was sort of had these natural healing abilities and wanted to, explore that, and that was an amazing opportunity for me. I went and, I had done another play about a Catholic priest who has since become a saint, Saint Damien of Molokai, who worked with people who had leprosy in Hawaii in the 1800s. He was kind of more of a social justice guy. He was like a firebrand. He was all about, standing up for the rights of the people. And he was a salt of the earth Belgian priest, tough, but just really had a lot of love in his heart for the people of this island, but also like wouldn't take any bull from his higher ups or either from the people that were on the island who were doing the wrong thing. He had to really kind of be like a policeman and a priest and a doctor. But Father Seelos' story was a different, I had done like 150 performances of that play when I started working on writing this play about Father Seelos. I proposed it to the Seelos Center here, and they basically commissioned me to write this play.
So let's back up a little bit for people who don't know. Father Seelos, at one point was considered a possible bishop of Pittsburgh. He had worked with the Redemptorist order pretty much, but before that, when he was a young man, when he grew up, where he was born, etc., was essentially what, Bremen, Germany, right? It was, and he ended up staying in Munich for a bit, but
That's right.
He was a German citizen whose native tongue was German, although from what all the accounts that we've ever seen, he spoke English fluently and without any impediment in any way, right?
That's right. Yeah, he was very, very fluent, and I mean, yeah, he was from Bavaria, and he came to the United States when he was very young. But yeah, he had this mission. You know, he had a vision of Mary when he was very young. He was in seminary, and he decided, you know, he had felt this calling to come abroad and to serve her in the United States. So yeah, he made this mission to come to the United States, and about him being able to speak very well. He was known as a great confessor. People would come. So in addition to his kind of natural healing abilities, which I was very interested in, his ability to kind of heal people's illnesses and injuries. He's also known as a doctor of souls. People would come to him for confession, and people would wait outside his confessional for hours, like sometimes for 2 hours, just waiting for the opportunity to speak with him, because people would say that he could look right into their hearts when they went to confession with him. So he was able to really connect deeply with people and to really see them. And people felt really listened to and heard, and they just wanted to come back for more and more and talk with him more.
Well, I've got a couple of historic pictures. One that I had there just above you a little bit, so wouldn't interfere. But here's one, and it's sort of going to obliterate you, but that's all right. We know you're there. That's a picture of him, and then we had another picture, sort of similar, that was of him. Again, these are probably maybe 1850 or so. I mean, they're circa that era, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he died in 1867. He was 49 years old when he died. So yeah, so that was
a very young man there. I mean,
yeah.
And again, why we know him in New Orleans is that he actually did come to New Orleans to work with the people who were afflicted with yellow fever. And unfortunately, when he was here, obviously, the transmission of yellow fever, I'm not sure if it was understood that it was from mosquitoes at that point in time when he was here or not.
No, they didn't really know what was going on. They were doing things like, one of the details in the play is that they were doing things like burning tar barrels to like purify the air. They just didn't know what was going on. And right. I mean, when he moved down here, it wasn't, there wasn't, the yellow fever epidemic wasn't actually happening when he moved to New Orleans. He arrived here and then it hit, the epidemic, and then he was out serving people who had the illness and ended up catching it himself.
Yeah. And again, it's just sort of an irony that he came down to New Orleans to help save people, and yet he could not save himself.
Right. And I mean, it is ironic. I mean, there's so many stories, and that's a big part of the play too, is these stories where he's able to do amazing things for people, not just in New Orleans, but in other places around the country, and heal them. And, but here he wasn't able to do that for himself. But I mean, the other thing too is that, that's also a big thing. I mean, in New Orleans, people, even though he was only here for a year, people could really, there's lots of stories about people at the time just really feeling that he's this saintly, special person, in their midst, and they were very moved by him, felt very connected to him, and I think that's also a part. I mean, there's a shrine here devoted to him. People pray to him and pray for his intercession for God's healing, and are healed of their illnesses and injuries. And I cannot tell you how many stories of people coming up to me after performances and being like, oh, my grandchild was completely sick and dying, and just stories about people's miraculous cures. And it's funny, like from the stories I hear, you think, well, there's been at least 40 miracles that I've heard about, in terms of proving him to be a saint, that he's one step away from sainthood, one miracle away from sainthood. So I mean, from my experience, he would have had those proven miracles many times over. So
again, the way it works, sort of like after somebody has passed away, like let's say Mother Teresa or somebody like that, and somebody prays on their behalf through one of these figures, and they have a miracle of some sort that cannot be explained away by science. That is one miracle that goes on the books ascribed to them, and then if they have a second one that is found out to be also miraculous, that whatever the events are, that they then go from being beatified to actually canonized and achieve sainthood. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, is there a committee of people that are involved in this? Is it like a standing committee, or is it a local committee, or is it a committee dispatched by the Vatican? Is it a national committee that bishops, for instance, the United States, that they commission? How does it work?
This is not something I'm an expert on. What I do know that they have this official person called the Devil's Advocate, who literally tries to disprove, the sainthoodness of a candidate for sainthood.
The worthiness of a candidate, in other words.
Right. So they have like they have a whole, like you said, a committee that investigates it, and it's an interesting thing. It's like feels like detective work, and also in some ways scientific. I mean, they want to verify the miracles, but it's an interesting thing. It's like, it is that this particular place is a place where science and faith are sort of, crisscrossing, crossing over, because they're trying to verify the scientific validity of these mysterious healings, So
and again, this is not something that we're making light of in any way, because it really is a matter of faith and practice. And if people believe that the intercession of a personage will help them be healed, or will help them achieve something, then that's really a deep-seated feeling of something that cannot be explained away. It's something that they believe in, something that they have faith in, and again, it's a religious experience, and literally, something that none of us can really attempt to explain, because it really is above that. It's not something that we mere mortals are supposed to know or deal with. It's supposed to be on a higher plane than what we're able to experience. But I'm certain that in all walks in life, no matter what religion you are, that you want to believe in these things being there, and that regardless of whether or not you happen to be a Roman Catholic, or if you happen to be an Episcopal faith member, or perhaps even a Baptist or whatever, all of these things probably will affect you in some way or another, and again, it's a deep-seated belief, and again, I hope that people understand. I'm from a background which is strictly Jewish. I have very, very little to deal with in terms of sainthood and those sorts of things, because it's really not something that our particular canon deals with. However, we do recognize great figures and leaders and things of that sort. We just don't necessarily pray through them. In your particular religious background, though, there are people who are utilized as a means and as a method to achieve certain things in life, and perhaps beyond life. And again, it's as I say, something that we shouldn't question. We should just accept, and I think that's the most important thing, is that we don't belittle, or try to question it. That we just try to accept it, and and respect people for their beliefs, etc. I know that this is a project for you that did not come lightly. I mean, I know you have a fairly good Catholic upbringing, and that this is something that you thought was important, not only for you as an actor, but also for you as a member of your faith. And I have to believe that that when you set out to do this, that it wasn't just for applause, and it wasn't just for gratification as a playwright, but that you were doing this to maybe bring people's belief system into more of a focus after seeing it and hearing the words that you ascribe to Father Seelos.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. I mean, it's been interesting. There've been a couple of performances where the priest will have a relic of Blessed Father Seelos, maybe like a piece of bone, in a little gold reliquary, and he'll offer to pray over people at the end of the play, and so yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I feel like there've been I know maybe I'm wrong about this, but I feel like, if I'm remembering correctly, that there've been a couple performances where the play would be over and there would be very little. It would be very little in the way of applause. It was more of like there'd be like a continuation of the performance into a ritual of healing, where people would come up and receive a blessing and a healing from the from the priest praying over the relic of Blessed Father Seelos. And so it's an interesting thing. I mean, you think about like that in a way, communion, where the transmutation of the blood and the wine and the bread into the body and blood of Christ,
Right.
is a performance in a way. It's a performative act, where the priest does something actual on the stage, in the sanctuary, and then most of the time I perform the play, in the sanctuary, and then it's just very strange to be a part of that, be all wrapped up in that, what I mean, to have taken on his life, and then to have people go up and receive a blessing from him.
Right.
Through,
can you give me a little bit of background from you, how you got exposed to Father Seelos? Where did you hear about him first? Because you're not from New Orleans.
No, I am. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, but I remember you had moved your way then.
Here's my story. I went to high school here. I mean, I grew up here. I grew up in New Orleans, and my parents still live here. And I went to De La Salle High School, and as a senior, I performed. I was asked by my high school theater director, who was Brother Michael Livaday, who was a Christian brother, to act in this one-man play about Saint Damien. And he'd been watching students come and go for like 6 years. He'd been looking for someone that he wanted to ask to play this role, and I worked with him every day over the summer. We would meet at a certain time, and at the Christian Brothers residence, we'd meet in this drawing room area, and we'd go through a section of the script, and then the next day we'd go through the next section, and so he broke the script down into like 31 chunks, and so I would work on each chunk. So every day we'd work on a different chunk, and then I memorized that particular chunk, and it was an hour and a half long play, and I was 16 years old, and I performed this play, and we did a performance for clergy, for Catholic priests and nuns, and this nun came up to me after the play, and she was like, she was in tears, and she was like, you're only 16 years old. I don't understand how you understand our life so well. And I'm like, well, I'm just trying to step into his shoes as much as I can,
Right.
And then later I was invited to go to Hawaii, and I performed it performed the play, everywhere that St. Damien served. I did like 25 performances. No, I did close to 40 performances in Hawaii, 2 different trips. My wife and I got married there at the settlement where he served. So it's been and I also I have a master's degree in religious studies. Partly because I had done this play in high school about St. Damien, and it was so powerful that I wanted to kind of repeat that experience. And then I was like, well, so I was trying to find a way to maybe bring theater together with my interest in religion.
And the intersection is obviously very freeing for you. It allows you to feel very comfortable in your skin, so to speak. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who are very good actors, but might not have the same kind of sensibility that you have and appreciation for the character that you're portraying. So
right.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's true. And then what happened was I was up in New York and I performed this play off Broadway about St. Damien, and I performed it in Hawaii, and I traveled around. And when we moved back here in 2010, because of the film industry was booming then, and my wife and I are actors first. We moved down here because of that,
Yeah.
And
and I apologize. I always thought that you had come here from afar, because I knew that you were not, you'd moved here, and so I didn't put the two together that you actually had been here.
Yeah. I mean, I was 17 when I went away to, I was 18 when I went away to, I was 17. I studied in London. I was back and forth, but mostly like I just left town, and I was in New York, and I went to college in New Mexico. So yeah, I was away for longer than I'd lived here by the time I got back here.
Yeah, but I should still know that you are a native, and I apologize for I apologize for neglecting to learn that fact a little bit better.
Don't feel that. I mean, because I talk about coming from New York, but yeah,
right.
But, yeah. But anyway, when I did come back home from New York, my parents were here, devout Catholics going to church every weekend, and my dad was like, they've been telling me about Father Seelos for years because I've been doing this play about St. Damien, and as soon as I moved down here, my dad was like, well, hey, listen, now you're back, you're here, it's time to do a play about Father Seelos. so then I started doing a little research, and then I called over to the Seelos shrine, and I talked to Father Byron Miller, who was the the head of the Seelos Center at the time, and he said, "Well, write up a proposal and come in and talk to me." So I sent him the proposal, and he, basically the proposal was for like, hey, listen, if I'm going to do this, I need time to spend on the research. So it was basically providing me some income while I was doing the research, and it took me like 2 years to write the play. Father Byron helped me every step of the way. Father Byron was very clear when I met with him that the play had to be his main concern was that Father Seelos' sense of humor came out in the play, because he had a great sense of humor. He smiled a lot. He was called the cheerful ascetic. So his biography is called The Cheerful Ascetic. So he's very much an ascetic, like, would practice, things like sleeping on the floor, on a wood floor, like things, like kind of, very strong ascetic practices he would have. But he also had a great joy and loved to laugh, and, told a lot of jokes, so that was very key in the proposal, that, this play was not going to happen unless I brought out his sense of humor. So,
yeah, I have to say, though, I hear a lot of people tell me my mother made me do it. I've never yet heard one actor tell me my father made me do it. And that's what you basically said tonight.
That's right. Father Byron.
I had a comment from the Peanut Gallery that I wanted to pass on. It said, Casey's amazing as Father Seelos. Blessed to work with him on stage. Now, again, because we don't know, we'll know later, I guess, but if they go to StreamYard.com/Facebook, it'll say who it is.
Janet Shea, if she's seen the play, it could be.
It might be
could
here.
be Donald
Yeah.
Lewis.
You know, they have been known to sneak around on this talk show and watch. So you know, whoever it is, we thank you very much from the bottom of our heart. I'd like to give everybody. We have a little clip to show of the play, but before I go there, I did want to show you, and this is a picture. And please tell me the name of the person who took your photo.
William Gill.
William Gill. And this is the view. Now, was this taken here locally, like at Redemptor's or someplace? Where was the?
This was at St. Mary's Assumption Church, where Father Seelos served, and where he in New Orleans, and that's where the Seelos Shrine is, and that's where he's buried. His remains are there, in the church. So, yeah, this is his church. And William Gill he took this photo, but he was also the person who filmed the version of the play that we did. He filmed and edited he directed the production we did that was filmed.
I don't know if you're frozen or I'm frozen. Yeah, go ahead. I think you're back now.
Yeah, he filmed the production that we did for WYES. So he filmed and edited that production that aired on WYES. So it's very, very grateful for Mr. Gill.
Casey.
Yes, sir.
Casey, I'm gonna take over a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the
there shall be no wine before it's time. Yes.
Okay.
So, once upon a time, I don't know what this. Here's. Hello, everyone. So, what can I say? What can I say? Right. Listen, if I'm here by myself, I might as well talk a little bit. What we have right now, the clip that we're going to see when Alan gets back, is a clip of it's a edited together version of a trailer for the Zoom performance version of the play, which is what I'm trying to promote right now and get some performances of. We came up with some really great Zoom backgrounds for every scene, so it kind of feels like you're just in the world with Father Seelos wherever he is. So like there's a lot of the play that takes place on a train. There's some really great train scenes. So there's this plush red train, like velvet red train seats from the 1850s, 60s that he's riding to New Orleans, which is what kind of the play hangs on, his journey from Chicago to New Orleans. And then there's little vignettes and flashbacks and things that happen as he's telling his life story as he's on the train. And they, take place in different locations, like they have a image of the house that he grew up in Bavaria, in Fusen, in the little town of Fusen, his home there. Different images like that. So, yeah. So let's see. Well, here's a little interesting tidbit. I right now. Oh, there's Alan.
Yeah. I'm trying to come back in.
Well, just so you know, I was supposed to be in a production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest that happened at J-Pass, and I had been asked to play the lead role in that, Nick Murphy, and but unfortunately there was a problem with the equity contract, so I wasn't able to do that. But that was supposed to be happening right now. But what that does give me the opportunity to do is to see if we can schedule some performances of the Father Seelos play during Lent, and then into the summer.
Jack, are you there? Can you hear me? Casey, can you hear me?
I hear
Can
you,
hear me?
Alan. Yep. It's a little delayed, but I hear you.
Hear me? Good.
Yes.
All right. You probably can't see the internet, and it's many multiple. Everything you said in all of the but I couldn't. In other words, I couldn't see myself or whatever. So unfortunately, yeah, drink your wine. You earned that wine tonight.
I think I'm gonna do this right here.
But I heard everything you talked about, and again the JPass production you talked about. For whatever reasons you weren't able to do it union wise. I know that they have, they have a contract that they have to probably adhere to certain protocols in terms of making sure that the actors are safe, and I know that the booklet is about that thick for AEA, Actors Equity Association, for what they expect the producers, the stage managers, etc., to be able to be responsible for and to implement. And so those protocols, are not done lightly. They're intended to keep people safe, but they don't always work. As an example, we have people who go on productions. I mean, our dear poor Carol Sutton had gone to Atlanta and had taken part in a cast filming, which is not AEA, but was SAG-AFTRA, and it's believed that she caught the virus there and came back from New Orleans, to New Orleans with it. So, we don't want that to happen to anybody. We don't want anybody to catch something that they shouldn't have to be exposed to, and so that's why they put those in.
And they made that clear. I mean, Equity was saying that was a big part of it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so JPAS had to do a number of things. I know that coming up, you mentioned Janet, but coming up this end of this month, Janet is going to be starring in
Arsenic and Old Lace.
Arsenic and Old Lace,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, she'll be an actor from Equity, starring in a production. So we'll see exactly, how that plays out. Yeah, Arsenic and Old Lace. So it should be a lot of fun.
Are you seeing Margot's comment there?
Let's go ahead and show that clip, and let's pray.
Yes, Margot. Actually, I played this whole play about Father Seelos with 28 characters, and 8 of them.
That everything's working on that. I think we had possibly a couple more.
8 of them. Somebody came up to me after the play and said,
if I can get that in,
Alan,
we'll get that to. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Margot Fanning had also put up a comment. I don't know if
yeah, I've heard that before.
I'm trying to see if it'll show up. Her comment was there. For whatever reason, I'm not seeing it. And it was Janet, by the way.
Oh, good.
Are you frozen?
Suggested I stay the night here to see if my suitcase could be found. Is it possible it has been?
And I think Margot was playing fun. Yeah.
Well, yes.
Let's see if we can show the film. Let's make sure to show people about what you're. It's the idea of this clip that we're going to show. You can hear me, right?
Major cities in
to
North
show
America, there was a
what capable for these to get to this. All right, let's see.
A nativist
going back
party called
to the clip, and let's see if we make sure this works. Here we go. I'm hoping it will show up. Are you seeing it?
Of immigrants who happen to be Catholics, the Irish, Germans, and Eastern Europeans. Catholic riffraff is flooding our streets day by day. Irish and Germans in droves jumping off the boats from old lady Europe, along with the vermin.
It should be working right now, though.
This so-called laughing society existed mostly for the telling
Casey,
of jokes. And I love
I'm going to put you in full
joke.
screen. Be right back.
I have another one. What's the difference between a tube and a foolish Dutchman? And a man's enemy shall be they of his own household. Matthew 10:36. In the course of 1 month in August and September of 1867, the death rate from yellow fever in New Orleans will jump from 2 cases to 67 per day. When no one has compassion, no one understands, no one knows our sufferings, is it not like hanging between heaven and earth? I blessed the child, prayed over her at the altar of the Blessed Virgin, and the seizures stopped.
So that's it. Hey, Alan. So yeah, so we're trying to schedule performances of the play throughout Lent. So if you're interested in having a performance, we're trying to schedule performances at church parishes, and we could. I mean, for example, there's someone who would express an interest in having a performance for some priests and nuns who are doing mission work over in Africa. I mean, it's Zoom. We can send a performance over there. I mean, actually, a lot of performances over there. We can send a performance over there. I mean, actually, a lot of performances over there.
Okay, so I'm supposed to be back. Can you see or hear me?
I see you. Yeah.
So I have another computer that I can actually go to, but this one seems to be working again for whatever good it is. I think I've pretty much gotten to the point now where I believe that it's the computer that's causing me the difficulties, and then it's not the internet. The computer has to be shelved or reformatted or something. So I'm going to start doing all of my shows from another room in another area. So hopefully that we won't have a problem. And I apologize for the difficulty, but at least they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and a video's got to be worth 1,000,000, right? So hopefully that did most of what we needed to have done. And again, I know a little wonky because of the internet tonight, but I was hoping that we might be able to take some more calls. I mean, we've had a number of people who've been watching despite the problems we've had and the challenges that we've had. But Janet indeed was on, Margot was on, and people who are out there know of your work. And as I mentioned, at the top, people will maybe recall you from being on, as Vince Lombardi, perhaps in some of the roles that you have done as a villain. But you did something too, and I'm trying to remember. It was a wonderful performance, and that's where I had a picture of you and your lovely wife Rachel over at the Irish pub. Was it? What was the name of that place?
Irish House.
The Irish House. That's right. Yep. And you were in the upstairs, and it was something to do with a goat. What was it?
Hogan's Goat.
Hogan's Goat. And I loved it. I thought it was a wonderful show, basically about Irish politics, right, in New York. Was that right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was an Irish Catholic community in Brooklyn. So, it's like, again, there was that Catholic connection in there. But I mean, the guy I was playing, everybody was a bit morally askew. I mean, my character was messing around on his wife, or like it was moral moral character was actually in the play. And one of the guys was running for mayor. I was running for mayor. He was using my skeletons in my closet as ammunition to take me down. And that guy, the other guy who was actually the mayor, was just super nasty. You know, like he was like Irish mafia compared to me. You know, my character was, you know, wasn't nice, but you know, compared to him, he was a nasty dude. And then Rachel's character was the only like, you know, kind of like innocent lamb in the whole thing. But yeah, she it was a tragedy. I mean, you know, the interesting thing too, that play was written in iambic pentameter. It was written in verse. You know,
Really?
by this scholar at a, you know, I think he taught it at Harvard or something. But yeah, it was a good play. Working on it.
Very good play, and again in a performance space that had never been really utilized before. And unfortunately, it closed down. It's now the spot to AT&T to get your cell phones.
Amen.
It's no longer a restaurant. It was at one point Town and Country. So people who know New Orleans and have been here for a while, they'll remember where Town and Country was.
Right.
And I believe for a short period it was a Mexican restaurant, like Vera Cruz or something, some of the name like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's a Mexican restaurant for a short bit. And then was it Matt Murphy? I'm trying to remember the gentleman's name.
Yeah, he was great. He was such a supporter.
Wonderful chef. I mean, you know, and I think I'm trying to remember. I think at one point he was sick at one point, but he went back. And I know that he left a lot of people holding, for wages and stuff. He slunk out of town like in the middle.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, unfortunately, but I know that he left a lot of people disappointed that they weren't paid, etc. But yeah, but he was a tremendously likable fellow.
He sure was.
He made one of the best Irish coffees I ever had. I never thought about doing it, but he actually had shavings of dark chocolate on top of the Irish coffee, which
really good.
You know, to this day, I occasionally will use that to kind of, you know, take the Irish coffee to another level. That's a wonderful idea. But he's
great music there, and we also did A Moon for the Misbegotten there. I don't know if you saw, Alan. You saw that, did you?
Yes, that was it. Yes, I did, and you actually performed a part of it on Steppin' Out.
That's right.
Eugene O'Neill. Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but for those who are not familiar, again, as with many of Eugene O'Neill's plays, you know, based a little bit autobiographically, a little bit on some of his life, isn't it?
For sure. Yeah, I mean this was his brother's story. So, Long Day's Journey into Night was his whole family, and he was a character, or his character was a character in like the person based on himself was a character in Long Day's Journey into Night. But A Moon for the Misbegotten was all his brother, who was now a horrible alcoholic and who died in a sanatorium at the age of 43. So yeah, that play was like a love song to him, or like if he had it was like it was almost, I think the play took place when he was 43. Like the guy died when he was 42. The play took place when he was 43. It was almost like him in a ghost land, you know, him coming to a reckoning, him having one last night, you know, a moon for the misbegotten, you know, the misbegotten son who couldn't get it together. And, you know, he had one moonlit night with this Irish pig farmer's daughter, you know, a match made. And
I hope you're coming in better than me, because you keep breaking up a bit and I can't tell whether or not it's me or you. But I'm hearing like every other word. I'm hearing up, you know, a little bit. So I
hear everything. I'm hoping.
Let me go ahead and if I may ask you, come right back in the room. I'm going to just sort of kick you out, and then sometimes it'll correct itself. So just I'm going to kick you out and bring you back in right away, and maybe that will help us make a connection, because I could only get a little bit of what he was saying, and I think if it's the same way for me than it is for everybody else, you all will appreciate the gesture here of getting it done properly. We've got about 10 minutes left to the broadcast, so hopefully he can get right back in and not be a problem. I don't have any other shows lined up for this coming week, and that's because I wasn't sure exactly what was going to be happening with Mardi Gras, etc., and after Mardi Gras. So we have obviously this weekend we have Friday, and Casey's coming back in now. We have Friday, of course, being today. We would normally be dealing with Hermes and all the crews that would be going on the parades right now, and of course this would have been our big weekend before Carnival, right, Casey? That we would have had Iris coming up for tomorrow, and of course all day long on Sunday you would have had Okeanis and Toth and obviously Mid City prior to that, and of course leading up to Orpheus on Monday night and Proteus, etc., and then eventually the big day. But no parades this year. Nothing going to happen. No Rex, no Zulu. No Jefferson parades. It's interesting because I actually had been the narrator at Gallier Hall for a number of the parades, but I actually have been doing parades out in Metairie too. So I'll sometimes leave Gallier Hall and then rush over to Jefferson to call those parades later on in the evening. So it's interesting that none of that's going on, and it's an industry that we don't talk about a lot in terms of the economic benefit. But New Orleans never puts on plays against Mardi Gras because they know it's a disaster because so many people have so much money tied up in Mardi Gras, and to know that none of that's happening, none of that industry, because it really is an industry, is functioning now is just sad. But we have every bit of confidence to believe that next year it'll be back and rebound, and that hopefully the vaccines will go do their thing, and that people will help achieve an immunity of sorts, and we'll be able to mix in crowds and have large gatherings once again. But we have to bite the bullet this year. So. So Casey, tell me a little bit again. How does this work? If a church, or let's say a private group of maybe a Mardi Gras crew, says, gee, maybe we ought to do something that we can get everybody together, and this is a virtual performance, right?
Yeah.
It's not done where they have to actually go into a theater. It's basically on a Zoom. You've got all those backgrounds that are there that are available to give proper setting. So how is it that they contact that last address that they had for you?
Yeah. Did you? Oh yes, they can contact me through that email address. It's
again. Yeah.
Do you want me to type it in the chat or something, or where can I?
I'm not hearing you at all.
Oh,
I can see you very well.
Huh.
Let's do that one more time. Let's see if we can coordinate one more time, and I'll.
Okay, should I leave?
Yeah, I'm just not hearing you at all. But now I can't even. I can't even get any of the controls to work for me to invite.
Well, listen. Let me just say this: it's Blessed Seelos.
Okay. Well,
play at Gmail.
Again, I'm assuming that you can't be. Let me go ahead and remove you. Let's see if I can maybe get you back to. Let's see if we can get you to come back this way. Yeah, it's just an aggravation for me. I'm sorry, people. I don't do these things. To bring up these challenges to me, Casey. At this stage.
Hey everyone, listen, if you want to host a performance of the play, you can send an email to blessedselosplay@gmail.com. So that's how you can contact me if you'd be interested in hosting a performance of the play. And we have it's all done on Zoom. We set up an Eventbrite. I have somebody who's running the Zoom backgrounds for me, sort of like a tech person. yeah, it goes very well, and it's just, there's no cost for it. Just do the ticket sales, and it can be anywhere around the country.
So what would the deal be? In other words, if I'm an organization, I sell my own tickets to my own people. You don't actually do the sales, right?
It depends on what the person would want, because we have someone who can do, run the Eventbrite for the performance and run the Zoom. So it would just depend on what the organization would want to do. If they want to run the Eventbrite themselves, they can do that, or we can run it and just do it that way. So it would just depend on, we could negotiate, talk about that with each individual group.
Would this be something that somebody could do as a fundraiser?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
that would be a thing where like okay, we're talking about doing like a Zoom room that can hold up to 500 people, So if they wanted to do it as a fundraiser, they could, for example, we could negotiate a fee for me, and for the tech person, and usually the tech person is offering to do it for $100 for the night.
reasonable, whatever.
Yeah. So it's not a huge cost, and then we just set a fee, and then they could have more expensive tickets, and people would know that money is going to go to the parish or whatever.
Right.
So you definitely do it as a fundraiser.
What they call patrons, patron level. So you could be, like somebody could achieve sainthood, or maybe they could be blessed, or maybe they could be a good Samaritan, or whatever. You could have different levels of contributing, or just be congregant. There you go. So again, I apologize for the technical problems we've had. I apologize that sometimes these things work and sometimes they don't. And I really believe now that it's got to be the computer that's giving me the problems, and not the internet, because it seems to just be whatever I'm doing with the computer, it seems to slog it down. So
well, look, Alan, I don't know. I mean, I was hoping I was vamping, successfully enough. If I'd be interesting to see how it all turned out in the end, whether I was being heard too. But maybe it wasn't as bad as it.
It's never as bad as you think. Never as bad. But I think I'm frozen again, and I'm going to probably use that as an opportunity to cut the broadcast a little early. If you can hear me, we'll just cut like a minute or so short. But again, my best to Rachel. Again, thank you for everything you do. Again, one more time, give an address where they can contact you.
You can email me at blessedseelosplay@gmail.com. blessedseelosplay@gmail.com. Yeah.
Okay. And again, for all of you out there who are of a mind to stick around, we appreciate you being here the whole night. We've had a guest tonight, Casey Groves, and we want to thank him for being here. We're going to close things out right now, and again, thank Casey for his time, and particularly for his vamping, as he called it, during the time that we were here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and remove you for right now, Casey. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to say goodbye to everybody else. Hopefully, it'll show up that I'm saying goodbye to everybody else. In the meantime, once again, this has been NOLA Theater Talk. My name is Alan Smason, and again, my pleasure to be with you tonight. Again, with Casey Groves, our guest, and we are seen on the NOLA Theater Folk Facebook group.